Breaking news here on Seattle Seahawks today. The Seahawks have made a signing. They have added wide receiver Marcus Sims, formerly of the UFL, the United Football League, and the West Virginia Mountaineers, to their 90-man roster with just days ahead of training camp. The news coming from Pro Football Network's James Larson, tweeting out the following. Breaking: the Seattle Seahawks plan to sign All-UFL USFL Panthers wide receiver Marcus Sims, per league source. Sims had a tremendous campaign with the Michigan Panthers this season, posting 426 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 18.5 yards per reception. Additionally, he's been an ace on special teams. So let's get to know Marcus Sims a little bit further. He was undrafted in 2019 out of West Virginia, playing his college career with the Mountaineers. Then he signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars as an undrafted free agent, ultimately did not make the roster for Jacksonville. Wandered around for a bit, ended up in the UFL, which was the USFL last year and was the UFL this year. Nonetheless, he was with the Michigan Panthers the last 2 seasons in whatever league you want to call it. And this year was a breakout season for him in the UFL, as the UFL, they don't have a first and second team and all that. You're either just All-UFL or you're not. He was first team All-UFL, if you will, at the wide receiver position this past year there with the Michigan Panthers. And from what we know, just the information that we're getting today on this new signing for the Seattle Seahawks, the biggest takeaway for me from what we've seen so far and seen the highlights and all is his big play ability. This is a guy that in his time spent in the UFL was a huge threat in the vertical passing game of being able to stretch the field in that regard. And what we've talked about with the Seattle Seahawks, that if they were going to add anybody, that they would be looking to find a vertical passing threat potentially. They have enough possession receivers. They have guys that can do that, but they would like to find ways to potentially stretch the field a little bit further. And you could argue that nobody the past 2 seasons in the NFL has been better when it comes to the deep passing game than Geno Smith, as he was the number 1 deep passing quarterback according to Pro Football Focus back in 2022, and it was the strength of his last year as well. So that goes par for the course, if you will. Let's go to the numbers that we're talking about here with Marcus Sims in this big play ability that we're talking about. Last season, 23 catches in the UFL, 426 yards, and there's the big number, folks. 18.52 yards per reception with 3 touchdowns. And taking that even a step further as we diagnose those statistics there, of those 3 touchdowns that Sims had in the UFL last year, 2 of them were for over 80 receiving yards on those touchdown snags. So that, to me, is something spectacular of taking advantage of those mismatches and outrunning defenders to get open in space and show off those big TDs. You know, he's got that ability to bring that to the table, to the offense. You go back to his college career with the West Virginia Mountaineers, and his statistics included the following: 87 catches, 1,457 total yards, and you see the average lines up with exactly what we talked about with what he did in the UFL. Big average there, 16.75 average with 8 total touchdowns in his college career. What is your one-word reaction to the Seahawks signing Marcus Sims? I'll give you my one-word reaction here in just a moment, but want to hear from you guys first. Way in the comments section, let us know what you think. Folks, this is why you subscribe to Seahawks Today. Anytime the Seahawks make a move, no signing is too big or too small for us here on Seahawks Today. Whether it's through free agency or a trade, we are going to cover it here on the channel. This is why you lock us in. Stay up to date with the latest happenings on your favorite team each and every day. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV to subscribe for free today. I'm going to put the challenge out there for you guys. I want to get at a minimum 25 new subscribers off of today's video. Who else is talking about Marcus Sims bringing you a comprehensive breakdown of a UFL signing? I can tell you this, nobody. Subscribe now. Let's get 25 subs off today's video. Great way to support the work we're doing, bringing you free Seahawks content here on the channel. Subscribe now for free. You'd be glad you did. My one-word reaction is explosive. Obviously, that is the big takeaway of what he brings to this team when you look at what he's done both as a receiver and on special teams as well, is that explosive threat. And the special teams element, that's the next thing I want to talk about here when it comes to Marcus Sims, because that will be more than likely the biggest likelihood of him making the roster will be dependent on what he does and the impact he shows on special teams, and he's been a threat there as well. Let's go by the numbers. I got 5 numbers to watch for you. Number 1 is 40. That's the amount of kick returns he had in his last 2 seasons at West Virginia, so a lot of experience there. 80, that is the kick return yardage long he had at West Virginia. Did have an 80-yard kickoff return in his West Virginia career. 13, the amount of kick returns he had in 2 seasons in the UFL. 67, that's the kick return yardage long he had in the UFL. So you can see that he does have that ability to break those off and get some big distance. And 1, he had a blocked punt return touchdown in the UFL last season. Hear me out on this, folks. I didn't stutter when I said this. He blocked the punt himself and then scooped it up and scored and took it to the house. Is that badass or what? I don't care if it's in the UFL or the Arena League or the Lingerie Football League. I don't care. I mean, that's an awesome play when you can block a punt and take it back to the house for 6. So you can see the explosiveness that he's been able to show, not just as a receiver, but in special teams as well. I'm not expecting, if we're going to be honest here, just going in on this, Sims to make the 53-man roster. If we're being totally honest with you at this point in time, he's got his back against the wall. I think realistically he's hoping that he impresses enough to earn a practice squad spot to stick around, get the paycheck, and then hopefully his name gets called if there's an injury or something. But his best chance to make this 53-man roster for the Seattle Seahawks is going to have to rely on what he can prove on the special teams unit. If he can show that he can be that guy that is worth keeping, that can be that difference maker in special teams, then he's going to have a case potentially to be made. RotoWire had this to say on the signing for the Seahawks. An undrafted free agent in 2019, Sims failed to catch on in the NFL after being waived from the Jaguars' injured reserve with a concussion in November of his rookie season. He turned heads in the UFL this spring, however, logging 23 catches for 426 yards and 3 touchdowns with the Michigan Panthers. Sims also tallied over 1,000 yards as a returner during his collegiate career at West Virginia. He'll likely need to leverage his skills on special teams in order to carve out a role with Seattle this offseason. Now, I know some of you are going to be saying, why are the Seahawks wasting their time on UFL players? It's worth a shot. This doesn't hurt you at all. You had roster space. It's not going to cost much. We have already mentioned before the Seahawks had close to $9 million in cap space. That's going to be a very minimum bottom-of-the-barrel deal here that's not going to hurt you at all. Why not at this point? Obviously, John Schneider and this scouting department saw something in him where they say, you know what, it's worth giving us a look. So you can't hate this whatsoever, the Seahawks giving this guy a chance, because there's absolutely no risk. My grade, I'm going to go with B+. I think that it's a guy that obviously has some explosive abilities, both as a receiver and a special teams guy. I don't see any risk involved in this. To me, this is a solid move from the Seahawks to see what this guy can do. I'll give it a B+. How would you grade the signing of Marcus Sims? A, B, C, D, or F? Well, in the comment section, let us know what you think. Subscribe now to Seahawks Today for continuing off-season coverage with all the latest happenings in your Seattle Seahawks. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones, and we shall see you next time.